Hello everyone. When it comes to Pokemon, there are several memories that I can recall crystal clear, as though they had happened yesterday. Examples include acquiring my first ever starter, fainting what I believed to be a glitch, and finally defeating Cynthia. But there is one recollection in particular that stands out above the rest. I was playing Pokemon Y for the first time, and had just battled Professor Sycamore. In my haste to explore the rest of Lumiose City, or at least what wasn't railroaded, I rushed down the elevator and was interrupted by someone that could best be described as human Ganondorf. At that very moment, I audibly exclaimed, "Oh boy, I wonder who the villain is." This was Lysandre, one of the Pokemon antagonists of all time. I don't think I need to tell you how much he's been lampooned over the years. Pro ZD's Lysandroth skit gets the point across perfectly, but it wasn't until I replayed Pokemon Y last month in preparation for Legends ZA that I realized just how utterly ludicrous he is. Spoiler alert, the ridicule is warranted. Before I speak of the man, it would be prudent to overview his lineage. Lysandre claims descent from the younger brother of the infamous King of Kalos, AZ. What we know of him is scarce, but supposedly he wanted to take the throne for himself. However, upon seeing the dire state of the region after AZ fired the ultimate weapon, the younger brother opted to bury all traces of the device. He then fatefully told his offspring the location of said machine, which I'm sure will never come back to haunt Kalos. This family rather impressively managed to maintain some semblance of influence for the next 3,000 years. Now, I can't say for certain how much of Lysandre's success was due to multi-millennia's worth of generational wealth, but he nevertheless made quite the name for himself. What put Lysandre on the map, making him the most famous man in all of Kalos, was his genius invention, the Pokemon equivalent of FaceTime, the curiously named Holocaster. Holocast. I know that sounds bad. Don't ask why it's called the Hololog in German. That's just a choice translation difference, I assure you. It's not like the man himself holds any problematic ideas on how to better humanity or anything. Oh my god. Yeah, so turns out Lysandre's a bit jaded. Purportedly, he used to be quite the humanitarian, helping the downtrodden of Kalos. Why we never see any evidence of his philanthropic deeds, save for some people merely telling you, I can't say. Sure, the anime has a scene of him doing just that, but I stopped watching that after someone's OC showed up and screwed Ash out of the Sinnoh League. At any rate, somewhere along the line, Lysandre decided that the best way to save the planet was to cull the vast majority of humanity. But who will be saved? Who are the chosen ones, just like our glum Ginger here? Well, with a meager 5 million Pokefrancs, you can be. Order your new tomorrow today, and we'll throw in a free 30 days of Holocaster Premium. That's right, folks. The sole requirement to become beautiful and thus be spared a gruesome fate is to fork out the monetary equivalent of 5 cerulean bicycles. Furthermore, the people that actually agree to this price aren't exactly paragons of humanity. Lysandre at least carries himself with some grace, but every grunt, admin, and scientist is outrageously snooty. Guess what, buddy? You may be king of the ashes after that weapon pops off, but your followers don't strike me as rebuilders of civilization. What makes all of this worse is that barely anyone calls Lysandre out on this way of thinking. The only one who openly challenges his viewpoint is everyone's favorite PNG, Diantha. In fact, Professor Sycamore can't help but hype up Lysandre at every opportunity. Now look, I think gassing up your homies is a wonderful thing, but if your response to your bro's omnicidal rant is, "Wow, what a passionate person," then you are either woefully ignorant at best, or downright complacent at worst. It doesn't help that after Lysandre's defeat, Professor Sycamore awkwardly slinks back in like, "Whoops, turns out he meant everything he said in the group chat. Let me throw you a parade so you don't snitch about the fact that I'm partially responsible for this mess." But I'm getting ahead of myself. We, the player, are the only ones acutely aware of Lysandre's contentious beliefs, chiefly because he randomly harasses us from time to time about them. To this day, I can't get over how jarringly abrupt the final act of these games are. Imagine every iPhone user receiving a message from Tim Cook, wherein he announces that the end of the world is today and there's nothing you can do about it. When you do confront Lysandre, he drops another nihilistic spiel and in his most wicked move yet, forces you through an extensive twirling puzzle. It is from here on out that we really get to see how evil Team Flare, and by extension Lysandre, can be. Aside from him lying about leaving the ultimate weapon be if we press the right button, only for Xerosic to activate it anyway, we can add copious amounts of property damage to Team Flare's rap sheet. Joking aside, in an instance that is genuinely brutal by Pokemon standards, we learn that the ultimate weapon's power source is the life energy of Pokemon. The seemingly innocuous rows of stone on Route 10 are graves, and we are horrifyingly told that, yes, Team Flare has tied Pokemon to them as living batteries. Worse still, Lysandre doesn't just intend on wiping out every human that isn't in Team Flare, but every Pokemon as well. My only question there is, what are you going to eat? Regardless, even after catching the legendary, Otto Septavius here still hasn't given up. I must give him props. His confidence in battling a trainer armed with a legendary is remarkable, but unfortunately for Lysandre, only Getsis can pull that off. He then crashes out in spectacular fashion, and may I just say, it is incredibly rich that Lysandre earlier said that things don't always go the way you want. Deal with it, only for him to rage quit here and attempt to bring you down with him. Credit where credit is due though, using a super weapon on yourself after losing is far more memorable an exit strategy than every previous antagonist, who simply walked away. Side note, but if you thought Lysandre's fate in X and Y was crazy, then I implore you to watch what happened to him in the anime. Bonnie of all people is the one to do him in, but this wouldn't be the last that we'd see of Lysandre. Enter Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon with the wildest post-game in Pokemon history via the Team Rainbow Rocket episode. For the uninitiated, this is going to sound bizarre, but these games are all about different dimensions, and a multiversal team of prior villains are now invading Alola. One of them is a victorious Lysandre, and I want you to ruminate on the implications of that. We are standing before a man that just erased nearly all life in his world and is unrepentant. Not only that, but he actively wants to unleash it on this world as well. Even after he's defeated here, it means nothing. At least the others are from worlds that might see them overthrown one day. There is no one left to oppose this Lysandre in his moribund reality, and that makes me shudder. He never took an L. Speaking of L, 8 years later, we received a much-needed palate cleanser in the form of Legends ZA. Turns out Lysandre didn't perish in Geosenge Town that day. Zygarde saved him. Okay, this right here goes incredibly hard. This man already has infinitely better writing than in Gen 6. Yes, his penance for attempted global annihilation is amnesia and subservience to Zygarde, something he is content with. Also, I love that whenever he shows up, everyone that's aware of his prior life gets jump scared. Jacinth not batting an eye at him is telling. And I'm surprised she didn't buy a Team Flare membership 5 years ago, given her wealth. The entire segment with L in the defunct Lysandre labs is awesome, though him conveniently forgetting his tantrum did make me chuckle. It's quite surreal to see Lysandre not be self-centered. Bro had to get humbled under tons of earth and rock, though 5 years of trying to sleep on Lumios's anti-homeless benches probably straightened him out as well. And that final battle, I mean, come on! The theme is sublime, and his Mega Evolution pose is the best one. Him doing a callback to what he said in X and Y, now in a completely different context, is just mwah. With a 3,000-year lifespan and a desire to travel the world, something tells me that we might see L again in future installments going forward. It is a true testament that Game Freak managed to take the weakest part of the original games and make them arguably the best part of ZA. Do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. I would like to thank you all for getting me to 5,000 subscribers. I did not anticipate reaching that so soon. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for your time.